Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today we're going to Rome, my favorite city. Specifically, we're going to ancient Rome with English author and historian Mary Beard. I actually wanted to list this as literary nonfiction because that's what it is. Beard's writing is absolutely unmatched in her field, and Beard is a professor at Cambridge. You can see her picture here at the end of the book. I read this book so fast because of her writing. I cannot believe she fit 1,000 years of history into 600 pages, and she did it so well. This would have been a five-star read, but it is a four, and let's get into it. Obviously, this is history, and I'm sure you either know or you don't, or if you're here then you're expecting spoilers because you should. Anyway, the book came out in 2015. I bought it in 2016 as soon as I saw it because I recognize the acronym. Of course, if you've been to Rome, you would too because it is everywhere. She included a picture of a manhole that has it, but it's also on fountains and just everywhere around the city. The acronym means Senatus Populusque Romanus, which means Senate and the people of Rome. The Romans sometimes joke that it means sono pazzi questi Romani, which means the Romans are crazy. These Romans are crazy. My second time reading it, and I read it really quite fast because her prose is magnificent. I cannot praise her enough when it comes to her writing. It is personable, it is accessible. She even reminds you, if you really are a beginner when it comes to history, to take everything with a tad of salt, which is great. I was drawn to this book because, unlike all the others that I'd seen thus far, this one focused on how the Roman Empire started and how it was built. So that drew me to it initially. And of course, there's no question that the main character of this book is the Eternal City and Capitoline Hills. She really focuses on Roman policy a lot more than economy, which is what I've seen with other books too. I recommend a hard copy of this book because it comes with a ton of maps and pictures that absolutely help with retention. It just helps. In the beginning, she gives you a nice picture of the city and its neighbors. You will see all of the main characters over there. Very expected. I was happy to see them. She starts in the 8th century and she goes on to the year of 212 when citizenship was given to every free inhabitant of the empire by Caracalla, which takes me to the main thesis of this book, citizenship. Of course, she tells it in a very non-linear order, which made me want to review it that way too. So I saw all my favorite characters, Romulus and Remus, the Lupa, which of course she dutifully reminded me that is a myth. But she relies on other historians, which is normal. She relies on Cicero's speeches, Atticus' poems, Livy's writings, but the bulk of her, not claims, but her bulk of her story comes from archaeological findings, including the infamous black stone that had the word king. It finally settled the argument whether or not early Rome had king, which of course it did. The gravestone had the word rex or vexi written on it, and even though the timeline doesn't really make sense, given the number of kings we have, it still is the only explanation when it comes to the formation of Rome in the early years. One of the policies of Romulus was having a city that accepted everybody, including people who weren't that well known. He opened the doors to everyone who wanted to come. And this concept of integrative, assimilatory culture was very prominent in her writing. You will see your known characters like the farmer Cincinnatus, and you will hear of Lucretia and other events that happened that shaped Rome as we know. She points out social mobility, and she credits Roman success to its policy, specifically its citizenship policy. She also points out that Greek society was a lot more inflexible than the Romans. It was a lot more of a rare event for slaves to be able to buy or earn their freedom in ancient Greece. And again, this reiterates how Romans effectively practiced what they preached when it came to meritocracy, not just with the gladiators, as some of us have seen. All consuls were effectively soldiers, as were all citizens. In fact, consuls weren't just soldiers. Some of them were generals. The majority were generals. Rome was a warlike society, as were most societies of the time. And a consul was expected to go on international campaigns and expand Rome's frontiers as soon as they took office. And she doesn't emphasize that quite as much as she should. She does show a picture of how, in the beginning, when Rome defeated its neighboring new colony would have to provide soldiers to Rome's military. There's even a painting in which she shows the sacrifices the Romans believed in, the meritocracy that they sold and they believed in. She does highlight that other city nations had the same intent and perhaps the same military bravery or brutality, however you want to say it, but they didn't achieve what the Romans did. And she emphasizes in her thesis that this is all to do with their policy, which is why I think she gave it focus so much more than their economy, like other historians did. And this was her brilliance. So I will give her flowers for that. I was quite happy to see her take note of the more unspoken aspects of the early Republica as well as the empire itself. But I didn't like how she came for Marcus Aurelius and Cicero. These people are beloved figures of ancient Rome, and of course I understand that everyone is biased, and I just don't think that she had to repeat that so many times. It was a little annoying. Just to give you an example of how pragmatic she is, she literally put a question mark under a portrait of Caesar. Like, it's art. It's just, of course, it's not. They always made the nose really strong with masculine features to make themselves look more manly. That's how it was. Her pragmatism was at times comical. Once again, this would have been a 5-star read because, of course, everything about this is my jam. I like the city. I like the cover. I think it's beautiful. I loved her writing. Her prose is great. I cannot praise it enough. Her affinity for anthropologic alliterations is perfectly exercised. It facilitates faster pace. It's beautiful. She has a masterful use of sentence length and impact, a near perfect balance between short, average, and long sentences, creating momentum and being absolutely engaging, which is unusual for something not just nonfiction, but also history. They don't tend to be this easy to read. Her line editing skills are to kill for, but her rhythmatic words cannot contain her supreme bias. On page 71, I'll read it to you because I simply could not believe that she said this. I thought it was very gauche. Other calculations narrowed this down further to 21 April, date on which modern Romans still to this day celebrate the birthday of their city, with some rather tacky parades and mock gladiatorial spectacles. This is the only time she uses the word gladiator. It's not even gladiator, it's gladiatorial. Again, she really took the pizzazz out of Rome, if you ask me. But that was too much. That really, I am the way, in the same way that she let her opinions affect her writing, I shall let my feelings affect this review. I don't like to be called tacky. I thought that was uncalled for, and I really think that you're pushing your audience a little too far because lovers of the Roman Empire and lovers of the city of Rome are not going to take that well. So I really don't understand what she was thinking here. Other than that, I do recommend this book. It is beautiful. It is concise because covering 1,000 years of history into 600 pages is quite the feat. It's really ambitious. Of course, she left some stuff out. Obviously, not everything would fit here. There's one of the reasons why we like studying the Roman Empire is because of how much we have available on it in comparison to other ancient societies, how much evidence we have, not just archaeological, but yeah. I didn't appreciate her tone. Thank you so much for staying. Please like this video. It's going to boost my confidence and help me out so much. Subscribe, and I'll see you later.